Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're doing the 1000s match. So here we have a game that was sent in by Pugu Pugu, who currently is rated. I guess you can't really see this part of the screen because that's just how I did it. So their signature is Already Eat World. They're currently 1182, which is a really big improvement from what they were in January, which was I think right around 1,000 when they sent in this replay to me. Um, so yeah, Puka Puka, big fan of artillery apparently. Definitely, they told me earlier that they were part of the Global League in like I think 2011. They said back when the meta was a lot more focused on artillery. I mean, part of it is map meta, and part of it is just like meta's changed. So it'll be interesting to see how artillery favored gameplay works on Rivendell here. They're up against Sprite Mare, who's 1106, um, with about 150 games played. So yeah, let's talk about the map really quick. So it's Rivendell. Rivendell, sort of a standout map, especially in the sense that it's like the HQ, despite being in kind of a back corner, is surprisingly easy to capture. One reason for this is the HQ is like right on the edge of the map, like so you don't have to shield against attacks from the top, and it's kind of easy to wall off these three tiles so that you can, or at least there's the idea of walling off these three tiles, and then like the HQ can only be attacked from here and here. This back area is protected by a mountain, so like attacks on the HQ are pretty strong because like surrounds are pretty. There's a lot of surrounding options. Um, I guess the other thing is it's like two base versus two base. So it's like 1v1 on the HQ, and then I guess the other thing to notice is that like it's a really long windy road to get from this base all the way back through the woods and then guard the HQ. So there are some cheeses here. So I guess that the way that I would think about this is it's like kind of, if it's kind of HQ rushy, then you can assume that the game won't take super long. So maybe it's better to avoid the sort of slow push, big time wall COs. It's kind of my picking strategy for COs, and they go with Andy and Lash. I'm more of a fan of Lash just because it's like a little bit more scrappy and brawly on average than Andy. But Andy is, I guess he has like HQ capture threats with hyper upgrade, just as Lash does with um, her Super CO power. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any issue with either of the picks, although I do kind of favor Lash, which is what Puku Puku goes for. So yeah, let's get into the replay here. Okay, so the first thing to notice, so both players with their mountain bases decide to capture back. Um, I guess economically it's like slightly stronger on paper, but as I remember, I think that stronger players tend to go for the center first, but I'm not sure about that. I guess I see that more often. Just get some more infantry out here with the hope of potentially snagging this central city from the mountain base side, which would be a pretty big pickup because it's kind of a nice little outpost. You can build walls off of it, um, and it's good. It's just extra income, obviously. I mean, capturing back, like it's fine. It's just I don't know. I think that I feel like I see people going for the center first more often at high level, but I haven't played this map in a while, which is kind of like a recurring theme right now. So with both players, it looks like they go with their corner base. They go to the center first. So it looks like there's a decent chance that the airport base is going to get this center property. Okay, so I guess going back here does result in a nice little chain. You go capture, capture, and then out here and capture one of these two bases, maybe both. So I guess it's a longer it's going to be a longer chain than if you go towards the center. But at the same time, if you go towards the center, there's like the promise of potentially picking up, you know, more contestable cities. So that's the trade off. Okay, we gotta. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so the openings make sense so far. I guess the one variation is that Puku Puku goes airport first, and then Sprite Mare goes. I guess goes airport second, and then Sprite Mare goes airport third with his third infantry. That is. Um, Starflash showed me a pretty cool variation where you build a T-copter with this airport pretty much immediately, and then you transport your infantry and kind of like rush towards the HQ. Um, and that can be I've seen that work pretty well. So it's one idea for people to think about, but you don't have to do it, of course. So Puku Puku doing a nice kind of move here, capturing two forward properties at once that only one infantry can interrupt one. I guess in addition to that, they're both Lash infantry on cities, so they're going to be able to counterattack pretty hard. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Sprite Mirror does here. Um, I think you probably have to interrupt so that I mean, if Puku Puku gets both, that's pretty painful. Um, so Puku Puku also this turn builds their first tank. So or their first vehicle, like first non-infantry unit. Um, so tank on this side looks pretty good, although this property kind of looks like it needs to be captured. So maybe that's I guess that this infantry trying to reinforce the front one. I see. Okay, so I did the math wrong. So this guy does not get a capture on this. That it's not free, but like it would force an interrupt from his opponent. Um, so I guess Puku Puku opting to reinforce the center with tank infantry infantry rather than go for these two properties. Maybe chain into this one. Which looks a little bit dubious to me. I think that you probably want to. I mean, it's just one property that you're contesting, and you're kind of losing out on 2 to 3, depending on how you look at it. Or at least you're certainly delaying 2 to 3 properties. So, I don't know. I think I'd prefer to see this infantry go towards one of these properties instead of backing up the contesting of this property. But that's just kind of like a first glance intuition. Maybe it's not the right idea. Okay, so Sprite Mirror going tank tank. Um, and yeah, didn't have an airport available to do anything else. Okay, so then firing back with this infantry, yeah, seems fine. I guess if you continue to capture, you just kind of lose. You can like Yeah, kind of. And you could do the alternative where you just capture here and then move this infantry up onto maybe this tile, so you can either capture here or counterattack. And then this guy is free to KO this guy, and then build a tank behind it. And then you're kind of like reinforcing the top center against infantry, and then the tank, hopefully, you can respond to this tank in time. As opposed to attacking here, which, I mean, it gives you kind of control of this area, but I guess you have almost no chance of taking the city now. I don't know, just an alternative. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. So Puka Puku actually goes double artillery build here. So this is kind of where they're showing their artillery preference. So opening tank and then two artillery. I mean, I think that kind of the saying when it comes to early artillery is you need to find good, like useful stuff for them to do. Because on their own, just kind of, it's not like a tank where you can just plop it in the center of the map and then it controls a lot of space. An artillery kind of needs to have an objective. So with early artillery like this, you kind of need to think about what they're going to accomplish and then execute on some kind of objective. So with this guy, I'm thinking you could already lock this and this city by sitting on the forest. That seems pretty good. It's Lash too, so um, extra 20% firepower boost for being on the forest. Alternatively, you could sit on this forest and then protect this capture. Although you're probably going to capture it prior to the artillery getting in position, so um, you could even argue this tank could have been an artillery, and then you would have the full protected capture of this city. Just an idea. Oh yeah, and then as for what this artillery can do, I mean, I guess you can just sort of park it on a city backed up by a tank potentially. Um, you can already lock this city so that it doesn't get captured by your opponent. You can already lock this city so that it's not recapturable really. So yeah, there's some options. Okay, so Sprite does an interesting move and moves deep with this infantry to capture. Um, Seems pretty good. Since this tank doesn't really have a free way to attack onto it that in a way that it's backed up by another unit. So I think you probably just have to interrupt with an infantry and then park your tank on a city or something, and then wait for your artillery to get into the action. Okay, so this tank actually goes pretty deep back here. I think this is a tile too far. Um, well, I guess this tank reaches pretty deep, so I would say probably put it on the city, and although then you can't reach that without the forest. Um, I feel like probably on the city here is the more active place for the tank. Although, like I said, this forest gets in your way as opposed to now. Now you can reach all these tiles, but really from the city, it's like it's just in this part of the map you have one less move. So I think that's worth it for the extra threat onto one, two, three, four, five, six. Potentially interrupting this capture. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it just feels more active forward a tile, up left a tile onto that city. Okay, so this tank going pretty deep here. I'm smelling a trap, which looks like a really good option here for Puku Puku if they see it as well. So Sprightmare actually had built a Teacopter the previous turn, which, yeah, I mean, seems like a good idea. Not only do you get the comm tower, but you also get infantry push down here a little bit later, which, of course, is nice for HQ snipes. And there's these two cities here that you can pick up as well if you have more infantry. Okay, so now with Puku Puku, I'm thinking trapping this tank looks pretty good. Um, yeah, you move this tank onto the top, and I don't know if you fire or not. I think you probably fire. And then this infantry goes here, this infantry goes here, and then the artillery comes in and probably attacks from the forest, or it doesn't really matter, probably. I mean, and what that does is it like totally shuts down every like this is the only vehicle on the right side of the map for Orange Star. So now once that exchange happens, like there's a tank back here that's probably going to be built, but you have like free reign with this tank and free reign with these two infantry to make some captures in the meantime. So that's what I'd like to see the trap there. This is a nice move, putting the artillery on the silo um, while blocking with the infantry. That's pretty cool. Okay, looks like there's going to be no trap this turn. I think I would have liked to see this infantry actually go for this capture. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like if this tank kind of moves around the outside and hits the artillery from below, then this tank can attack from the forest. Um, and then it's gonna be like a pretty brutal trade there. I mean, both of Blue's vehicles will be wounded, but not by all that much. And then Orange will lose a tank, and you'll be double capturing pretty much. So that's a pretty nice setup. This here, it feels like it's kind of like a get off me move. Like it's a slightly favorable tank trade, and then the artillery is kind of sort of forcing the issue. Um, it just doesn't quite feel. I just like the artillery just feels a little. It feels like it could be. It feels like it doesn't need to be protected at this point. Okay, so here's the anti-air build to respond to the B copter. Okay, actually an infantry instead of artillery. But it looks like a T-copter build is going to be coming out. Yeah. Okay, so both go T-copter, which maybe that's just what everybody knows, at least new in January of this year. Is everybody knows to build T-copters. Or no, actually, well, it's kind of obvious because you need to capture the comm tower. So maybe it's just like everybody does it because everybody wants a comm tower. Okay, so this tank goes pretty deep in range of getting trapped by this tank. That looks really risky by red or by orange, which is the color red. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a very. I mean, because it's going to be this tank here hits here, and then this 7 HP tank actually gets to hit from a forest, which is going to do massive damage. So it looks like both tanks in the center are going to be crippled. And then the artillery can kind of do whatever they want to, kind of set up however they like, and there's the B-copter threat is about to be met with the with the anti-air. So it looks like Orange is kind of in some big trouble right now. Yeah, and sure enough, attacking from the forest, very good. I feel like the artillery here could have been a bit more aggressive. Um, maybe like maybe even up a square to like prevent the tank from moving very far forward. See, if this artillery is up a square, it can cover that and that. So then this way the tank has to be on these one of these two back tiles, which it doesn't really. It kind of wants to be far forward. So in this scenario, this tank can reinforce directly to the forest, which kind of puts it into the middle of the fight pretty quickly. Whereas if the artillery covers that, this tank is, a number of it can't get to the center very quickly. And sure enough, the tank goes to the forest. Also, one thing to think about is so Andy is at a bar and a half of charge. It might be worth it for Puku Puku to dive with these two tanks in order to in order to finish off these weakened units. If this 8 HP guy dives on the 1 HP tank, then it can be backed up by an anti-air. Um, Although the infantry could potentially block, so you'd have to calculate that. Um, and then here, I mean, it looks like the free shot with the artillery looks like a good idea, and then there's going to be enough tanks around that this guy going in isn't going to be it'd be a bad idea for this tank to just like fly in and do damage. Um, yeah, so let's see what happens here. Okay, going for the infantry kill seems reasonable. It's kind of hard to like convince yourself to go that deep for a 1 HP tank, but unfortunately it's Andy, so you kind of have to go for those sometimes. Okay, so it looks like there's enough stuff here for Puku Puku to finish up this to reinforce this 7 HP tank on the silo. It's like a free infantry shot here, which looks pretty nice. Okay, so Sprite Mare is getting a bit of presence in this area of the map with this medium tank, especially. There is I think that if Puku Puku reinforces everything center to meet him, that seems pretty good. But I'm sure there's other options too. So yeah, attacking from the silo definitely looks like a good idea. Unfortunately, it doesn't kill, so it almost makes you wonder if this 2 HP tank should have attacked from the side and kind of sacrificed and then have this infantry finish it off. That kind of like gives you a lot of options to block with and put your artillery back here. Just an idea. Like what I'm thinking is um this guy goes down to 8. That probably kills. And one, two, three, four, five. So this artillery is actually totally safe. So yeah, I think something like this looks pretty good. And then obviously you bring your anti-air over as quickly as you can. I mean, you're probably going to lose an infantry here, but you did kill off a tank completely, which is really what you want. Um, yeah, this looks like a pretty good option. Let's see how it compares to what Puku Puku went for. Okay, kind of. The one thing that is kind of worrying me about how Puku Puku is playing this is that there's a lot of leftover, like 4 HP infantry, 3 HP tank, 2 HP tank. There's just going to be a massive hyper upgrade here. And it's just kind of like one of those anti-Andy tactics you have to prepare for. You just have to you just have to realize that you have to finish off units more than you have to versus other characters. So Puku Puku actually went double artillery and then floated some money. So in standard, I think it's an option. It's like not a bad option to go heavy artillery versus a single medium tank. Um, but I think floating the 5K is probably a good idea so that you can do neo tank or medium tank. I guess you're gonna repair a tank, so it's you might not be able to afford a neo, but answering a medium tank seems like a good idea. Okay, so this looks like a like a pretty bold attack here. Like the anti-air looks really exposed with this medium tank. Um, then going in on the anti-air when you have a B copter. I mean, there's a fair amount of artillery around, but I don't really see what's gonna happen here. It's just like kind of throwing into a ball. And then I guess the B copter moves up and in. Okay, it's in range of the anti-air, which I really surprises me. It's just gonna get traded out. So I feel like the B cop one, two, three, four, five, because the 7 HP anti-air is gonna kill the B copter. I think that's how the calc comes out, especially with tower. So yeah, this is pretty complicated. I won't analyze exactly what all the options are, but it just feels kind of weak from blue here. So he doesn't really have that many strong attacking units, so we'll just see what happens. Okay, well, if you're gonna attack infantry, yeah, this is kind of the Andy problem, the problem against Andy, which is that this medium tank can just kind of like come in aggressively. It's gonna take 2 pot shots and go down to 5 HP, and then Andy's gonna have hyper upgrade ready, and then everything is ruined. So let's see what Puku Puku does to get out of this mess. Yeah, this looks kind of complicated. Okay, so there goes the B copter, but I mean, this attack onto the medium tank is not going to really do anything because there's about to be a hyper upgrade. So this is actually kind of turning into an Andy dream here. This is just kind of like exactly what Andy wants. Okay, moving like that is pretty cool because that's really nice. Um, Given that there's no way to kill off this T-copter other than moving the medium tank to move the anti-air up, this basically takes a turn away from this medium tank, which is huge. Um, Unfortunately, there's still like a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage that Sprite Mare can do with these two tanks. So see what happens. Okay, so Sprite Mare to move. I think that you're probably going to hyper upgrade here. Yeah. So then this guy's going to come up, kill this guy, tank on artillery, medium tank on. And then, yeah, medium tank on, is going to get onto the anti air here. I would. Oh my god. The artillery here. So, yeah, attack from maybe that side. And then Puka Puku looks like they're in bad shape. Okay, so that actually killed, so this is even better. So the infantry could finish off the artillery even if it wanted to, but that's maybe okay. Fair enough. And then with all of this happening here, there might even be an option to take out this tank and then put the artillery in range of this artillery. Maybe not. Okay, I think maybe this could have been improved a little bit. Like, just put the artillery one tile right so that it can point at the city. It's like a pretty good option there. Okay, here comes Prime Tactics. Usually doesn't do that much, but we'll see what happens. Oh, that's gonna do something. Yeah, now this tank is like invincible. Okay, and then you can heavily back this up with artillery, which is a nice bonus for sure. Okay, yeah, this is good. Kind of shows like the power of Lash's prime tactics with having a healthy amount of artillery and just like the walling potential just goes skyrockets on that turn, which is which Puku Puku takes full advantage of right here. So Puka Puka really needs to have something to deal with these three medium tanks other than three artillery. So I would be not opposed to a bomber or even consider base skip for a neo tank. It seems like an option. I think a medium tank is the least is at least a little bit mandated. There's just yeah too many medium tanks right here. Not enough stuff. It's weird to see the medium like three medium tanks to zero, and the player with zero medium tanks has a 2K income lead. You don't see that every day. Okay, and then nice job clearing this T-copter here. Okay, I think actually I was thinking about putting maybe it'd be better to block the forest with the B-copter. Um, there's like a few things that I feel like could have been improved. Like you could put the B-copter on the forest so that the anti-air is safe, and then it can like kill these guys for free. I mean, it's a nice shot there, but it doesn't even fully kill the tank, and it also puts the anti-air in range of these medium tanks to just get free shots off. So I not too confident about that one. This death ball is pretty nice though. Okay, so another artillery. Okay, this needed to be the other way around. Like artillery over here, medium tank over here. I just really don't think you can go up against three medium tanks with four artilleries. It's just I mean, we'll see what happens, but in my experience, it just doesn't work. And another B copter. Yeah, I just really don't feel like B copter artillery is the right answer to a bunch of Andy medium tanks. Okay, very nice trap here. It can be freed, but something else has to die in its place. Killing off the infantry instead of going for the medium tanks is a bit surprising, but um, I guess it's not the craziest thing because it's Andy we're talking about, and he's kind of close to charge anyways. So it's not like you're gonna kill one of these medium tanks before hyper upgrade. Oh, and that's kind of elegant. So they kind of form a shield for the artillery that's pretty deep. So that's nice. And then I really like this recognition, seeing that the rocket is here to protect this property. So then it's like, well, you're not going to contest a rocket with three artillery if it's this congested. So yeah, just kind of like moving towards center and then snagging a property on the way seems like a great idea. Um, I mean, you could, I guess you can't abandon this front entirely because your HQ is on it, but you could start reinforcing to the right with maybe send an artillery or two over there. And then you can really have like, I mean, once you're at like 10 artillery versus four medium tanks, then okay, it kind of makes sense. But like three medium tanks versus four artillery is just seems a little bit sketchy, even if you do have a few other B copters to help. Now it's up to four. That's a lot of B copters, but it's like it's Lash. You kind of want to scrap with ground units. So that's my preference, anyways. Okay, so there is a role that Puku Puku can do here. I think it's like not a low chance that tank plus tank, one from 110, one from I guess one from 110, one from 120 attack. That's like not that low a chance to KO this tank on a city. So if Puku Puku notices this, they could go for the risky. It's not even risky because like the rocket can't fire on these tanks. So once it after this shot onto this tank, let me just show you. So this guy's either at like he's either at 1% or he's dead. So if he's dead, then this guy goes onto the city and smacks the rocket for humongous damage, potentially a kill. And if it's at 1 HP, it's like, well, what's going to counterattack? This one B copter that. So this anti-air can reach this guy and even reach the city tile. So yeah, this anti-air secretly covers both tanks essentially from this B copter. So I think that this attack here is like this is secretly a must. So we'll see if Puku Puku sees it. Oh, they see it perfectly. This makes me really happy. Okay, go for the kill. Oh, got the low roll. Okay, that's rough. But it's not that bad. It's you just back it up with the anti-air and then you're fine. So yeah, Puka Puka making like definitely noticing a lot of tactics that that I was sort of trying to point out to you guys before they happen. And I think this retreat is totally fine. I mean, this is kind of the point of the game where it's like you with this many artillery, you can just point them at your properties, and then like you can stall out a little bit because you have a little bit of an income lead. That's it's a fair thing to do. Um, so it's fine to not be so aggressive with your artillery if you're not gonna, go for a kill. Giving up a little bit of space here is totally fine, as long as this is a sturdy formation, which I think it is, but it might not be actually. Um, Sprite Mare's in a weird position where like they need one medium tank for every artillery, and they also need one anti-air for every B copter, and they're kind of lacking on both fronts. Um, I guess you can have more than one artillery per medium tank, but it just feels like Sprite Mare can't push out enough medium tanks or artillery. Oh my god, I keep saying artillery, anti-air. That Sprite Mare can't push out enough anti-air to keep up with the B copters while also having enough medium tanks to deal with the artillery. So I said the right word. Good. Okay. Let's just continue before I spout more incorrect vocabulary. Okay, so that's pretty spicy. Okay, so Sprite Mare kind of goes for like the ultra crazy move here. Um, this infantry blocker here is fantastic. Um, but we'll see if we can get around it. Yeah, this is really great because it blocks the anti-air from reaching the B copter. And then in order to kill this anti-air, you need to hit it from two sides. Oh my god, it's called an infantry. In order to kill this infantry, you need to hit it from two sides. So like you need to probably retreat here and then hit it with what like a I don't know, there's options, but like a lot of the options tie up vehicles that you'd rather have doing other things. Okay, so the tank actually one shots. All right, so never mind. This is pretty over. Because now you attack like this, and then the tank kills from the city, which is a one shot. Um, and then you can just, I mean, even here, if you want, you can stick around and kill some infantry because, yeah, actually, this tank can kill this 3 HP tank as well. Yeah, this is pretty brutal. Yeah, so you can make this really deep push into the battleship, which can only fire once, of course. And then after it fires its one shot, there you just like take this entire glob of units and just like, push right or something, and then go for the cities that the battleship can't cover. Because now this battleship is like it only helps if you're pushing really deep here. And if you move to the center, then all this 28,000 advanced wars bucks is like just sitting in a lake, not really helping your cause. So yeah, as long as this here is sound, which a mega tank, very cool. Yeah, 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 yeah. The mega tank idea is really nice. Yeah, Puka Puka playing really well, I'd say. Like certainly in the for a 1,000 rated player, this is like a really good look. So Sprite actually goes hyper upgrade here. I was thinking about maybe saving it. Because if you could get your four tanks hit four different artillery, then you do that, then you eat all the artillery shots, and then you hyper upgrade up. Maybe that could be an idea to stay in the game here. Let's see what this hyper upgrade does though. Oh, that actually kills. Okay, never mind. This is big. And that actually with a +1 movement goes pretty deep. And that hits too. Okay, so that's pretty huge. I mean the thing with Puka Puka here is it's like this move can be done more passively and like nothing changes about the game. All you need to do is just like block this tile, block these tiles, and then just like put your artillery passively, even like, in this back row here, just to slowly reinforce the center. Um, like it's okay if Sprite Mare has all these extra turns in the center because like all you need to do is just you just need to reunite this, I guess, unite this giant force with this giant force, and then you just like crush the center and then ignore the battleship and then you win. But losing one half of your army like this is like totally losing. Like this is a really really scary look. So yeah, I mean the mega tank can come in and shoot these guys away, but you've already lost so many of your. Oh, actually, Puka Puka's doing really well on unit count. Yeah, this is a complicated game. Okay, so here's Prime Tactics. So obviously this guy's going killing the tank, which is nice, but you only have two shots for three medium tanks. How much money did so Puka Puka had 22K? I would actually consider going medium tank here instead of RDB copter. Once again, I just think that like having a mega tank and a medium tank here really kind of like is a much more direct counter to these units that are pushed really deep into your territory. Okay, really nice move putting the mega tank back on a city. And there's no anti-air here, so there's like potential ideas of surrounding this medium tank and then hitting it with the mega next turn. Okay, I think this B copter needs to hit this medium tank, and that you just like chip down this medium tank with tank mech B copter because this is like once again, if this thing escapes and heals up with hyper upgrade again, then it's like just all this free damage that gets undone. Okay, so it's like a really broad trap. So I think this works too. It's just like the unit count that Puku Puku has is just gonna win the game for him. Yeah, okay, and there's the resignation because uh, in order to escape, in order to have this medium tank escape, you need like another medium tank to free it, and there's just not really a cost-effective way of doing it. Yeah, that was a solid last move there by Puku Puku, like kind of a broad net, casting a broad net, and then kind of like catching one of the three power units, and then saying, in order to free one of the three, you need to sacrifice another, um, and it costs too much to lose one. So Yeah, really good game by Puku Puku. I'd say definitely the tactics stood out. Both of them making pretty good use of like some of the common strategies here with tank with the base blocks with T copters. I think the main thing in Puka Puka's play that I kind of disagree with is going heavy into arty B copter against medium tank spam. It just feels like a little bit. It just feels like you can't really be in the driver's seat, and Lash kind of likes to have those heavy tanks to trade evenly versus other medium tanks. Oh, and I guess the other thing too, Puku Puku could have potentially looked out for what's it? Oh my. Oh yeah. I guess yeah. Andy specific counter strats, which going prioritizing finishing off units, even if it means like losing an infantry to kill off a 1 HP tank, is like worth it every day of the week against Andy. Okay, so yeah, that's all for the 1000s. Catch you guys next time on the 1100s.